Oh man, Trey, look up at the sky. It's a full moon on the Sabbath.
This is scary.
Break it down.
I was working late on my Haftorah when I heard a knock on my bedroom door. I opened it up, and to my surprise, there was a werewolf standing there with glowing gold eyes. He said, "Tomorrow, my son, you will be a man. But tonight's the time to join the Wolfen clan. Tomorrow you will stand at the beamer and pray. But tonight, let's gaze at the moon and bathe. Werewolf for mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves. Werewolf for mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves."
All right, that was great, Trey. Okay, it's over. That's a wrap.
Oh, the next day what happened? The Choma didn't teach. I got up in front of everyone to give my little speech. Then my teeth turned into fangs and my nails into claws, and I nearly dropped the Torah when my hands turned into paws. I growled and I roared, and my rabbi did as well. It was a rocking werewolf zoo at Temple Beth Emmanuel.
Hey man, where'd you learn all these Jewish words?
My manager Harvey Lemming. Werewolf bar mitzvah, spooky, scary. Boys becoming men, men becoming wolves.
I just don't think the idea of the song can sustain itself for that long. It seems a little sweaty now. So
this whole premise is sweaty. We had a reception at the Larchmont Country Club. They served a real nice brisket and an 8-foot party sub. I danced with my cousins. I got money from my folks. We had a lot of fun making circumcision jokes. Then I remembered the premise of my song. I was at a nice reception, but the werewolf part was gone. So we pulled ourselves together and we're wolfmen again. Just in time for monster fight to begin.
No.
All the country club employees were brain-sucking packs who had all turned into zombies and were...
Happy Halloween, buddies. We are Cauliflower for the year. Our call-in number is 347-326-9741. 347-326-9741. I am Brian the Butcher Brown, joined tonight by Nick Frank. What's up, Nichols?
What's up, Dubs? How's the holiday going? Are you sitting at the door waiting for the prepubescent boys and girls to come to the house?
Why don't you say that? Why don't you say that another time? I mean, it took you a while to get that one out. Yeah, of course I am. I bought my candy early this morning, and
sure you did.
Sitting near the door with some tight shorts on and hoping the doorbell rings. But so far, I guess the word's out. Stay away from that creepy house. I see Joe enjoying us tonight.
No, he said he had a lot of work stuff going on. He was crying about he had trouble sleeping last night, so he didn't, he was only on a couple hours sleep. He had some work shit going on, so he's not going to be able to take his beating on the show for finishing in third place.
He's at a Halloween party bobbing for cock, you know it.
He's knob gobbing somewhere, I'm sure. You dressed up at all, pal? You go to any parties or anything over the weekend?
Yeah, I dressed up as a ginger kid. That's what I dressed up as.
Oh,
what
really?
about you?
Change of pace? No, I didn't. I absolutely did not dress up as anything. I just kind of hung around the house and laid my fat ass on the couch for about 12 hours and watched football yesterday. It was a perfect Sunday.
Oh, it was amazing. How about the Niners, buddy? I know
the Niners are solid. Number one defense in the NFL. They're number 2 in the power rankings. They look like they're legit, man. They're good everywhere.
Super Bowl number 6. Grab 7 next year. Get right back in front of the Steelers. It's going to be a beautiful.
Well, beautiful. You know what? I think that the team. I think the only team that's going to. I think the only team I wouldn't want to play would be the Packers, and it's just kind of frustrating because I think the Packers are that good this year. Where I think right now San Francisco is the second best team in the league, but I don't think. I think if they have to go into Green Bay in the playoffs, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was really upset when they drafted Alex Smith and let Aaron Rodgers fall to Green Bay.
In the 6 years since that draft, I've never heard that.
No, I'm not bitter. So it'll be fitting when the Niners make it to the NFC Championship that they'll have to do it against Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers is going to rape their assholes.
The guy they passed up on.
But I don't know if the people out there don't know. This is an MMA show, and I guess we should cool it down on the football convo because I know there was a fight card this past weekend, and I had a lot riding on it. I was trying to catch you in the standings. So since I don't really keep a scorecard, I figured it was really close. So why don't you let everybody know?
Well, as we all know, this is the second round that we went through. The first round.
Who won the first round?
I did. I won the first round. You came in second, and then Mr. Dolan joined us for this last 10-fight block, and that was the 10th event on Saturday night, so we're done. So after 10 events, actually I'm going to give the breakdowns for Saturday night. Dolan did the best on Saturday night. He picked 4 out of the 5 fights correctly, and he got 26 points. Second place was myself. I picked 3 out of 5 fights correctly for 19 points. And Senor Dubs, you picked 3 out of 5 fights correctly for 15 points. So fantasy totals for the season. Third place, Delicious Dolan with 137 total.
What a pathetic loser.
The Butcher in second place with 148 fantasy points. And myself, I defended my crown, first place, 170 points. So actually,
oh, my God.
I beat you by 22 this time, pal, so a little bit worse than the first place.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how much you beat me for in our first go-around. Now, the first time, I remember the standings were pretty deep, so it wasn't that bad that I came in second.
Well, the first time you were leading for the first half of the season, and then I came back on your ass, and one big swing event, and then you were sniffing my ball sack the rest of the season.
Apparently, I liked the way it smelled because there I was right back there again this time. So
yeah, it was.
I don't even know if
I like to keep it musky for you. I know how you like the musk.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Oh, my God. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I mean, can we just talk about this?
You know what? I wish that fat fucker Dolan was on the phone because I need one of you two guys to give me a challenge here because it's getting boring. Like, I'm rooting against myself because I'm just coasting here. This is ridiculous. The fans out there, they want to see some competition.
Yeah, the three guys who tune in.
Our legions of fans, we need some drama. There's no more drama because I just win every time.
It's such a deep pool out there, I mean, maybe one of these fans can step up and jump into the league and give a challenge because obviously I'm horrendous at this, and Dolo is absolutely pathetic. I mean, it was the worst showing.
Maybe you and Dolan could just add your points up and go against me, and we'll see if that works out.
Is that allowed? I think that's a good idea.
And I'm playing that son of a bitch in fantasy football too. And I'm coming into this game of 16. He's got 2 defensive players, so I got one eye on the television while we're doing this because me and him are going. It's going to be close. I need that win in fantasy football.
I don't know. It could happen. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago. I was down 23 points heading into the Monday night game with one defender, Jared Allen, going, and he had a monster of a game and scored 25 points. So I wouldn't feel too safe right now. That's true.
That's true, man. So why don't we go ahead with what do you think about, obviously, the main event, 137, a really good fight. I mean, we all picked Nick Diaz, but did you see the fight playing out the way that it did play out?
Well, obviously last week I had to switch up my picks a little because I was trying to catch up to you in the standings and eclipse you. I totally agreed with you when you chose Nick Diaz by TKO in the second. Obviously it didn't go that way. I went to the cards. But I really did kind of see that happening now. I know I'm a big Diaz brothers fans, and I ride their knob like crazy anyway. But, as great as BJ is, and I've said it before on the show and to you, I'm not that huge of a fan of BJ, but I can't discredit what the guy's done in the game of MMA. I mean, he can be talked about as being a legend. I mean, the guy really dominated the 155 weight class in his prime, and he was able to move around with some success throughout other weight classes, and the guy always brought it every time he fought. But I just couldn't see it, and like I said, it could have been just a fanboy in me, but I really thought Nick was going to take it to him. I thought he was going to knock him out, and it looked like there was a couple times in that second round where BJ was ready to go, and Nick just didn't hit him at the right time. BJ was able to keep his defense at certain points when Nick was still unloaded on him, but the barrage of shots, I mean, everybody used to say that B.J. Penn probably had the best boxing in MMA. B.J. conceded it before this fight that Nick Diaz, he thinks he has the best boxing in MMA. And after seeing it on Saturday, again, another thing we always talk about is how these guys don't use body shots enough. Nick Diaz was just working the body and the head over and over again. And, I mean, he broke B.J. BJ was tired, he was winded, and, he finished the fight, but, even Dana White said it at the press conference. He didn't think that BJ was going to answer the bell for the third round. He was so beaten up, but he came out and lasted through the fight, and I know I was excited. Again, it's not because I dislike BJ and I like Nick, but it was just a really impressive performance, and it shows that Nick Diaz is one of the top welterweights in the world, and now people are starting to recognize it, and of course, he's probably the most talked about guy today in MMA, and I think he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, sure. You touched on a lot of good points. The last point I'll sort of start off with, where you said he's the most talked about guy in MMA, and I don't think, with a guy like Chael Sonnen's marketing and some of these guys, Josh Koscheck, Nick Diaz is Nick Diaz. He is who he is. Even in the post-fight, he's talking about he doesn't have enough. He wants to buy a house in Stockton with a deck, and he says these ridiculous things and how this is a rough training camp. I can't afford sparring partners. The guy made $200,000 for the fight plus $75,000 bonus. That's $275,000. That's his disclosed pay, and I'm sure he makes some more. So, this is a dream come true. I think he's a headache for Dana as far as you don't know what he's going to say and when he's going to say it, but he is going to sell pay-per-views, and there's a lot of chatter, around this past weekend's event and now the upcoming Super Bowl fight versus GSP. Cesar Gracie came out. He's been doing a lot of talking himself, but he's saying that he thinks that this fight with GSP is going to be the biggest fight in UFC history. I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but it is going to be a really big fight. Goddamn, Derek Johnson got an interception while you were talking for Dolan. Now he's only down 9 points. He deflected the pass. He deflected the pass, and then he intercepted. So he got the point for the pass deflection and the interception. God damn it. Anyway, sorry. So, the first round, obviously, Diaz didn't look like he could find his range. He didn't look like his angry self. BJ won that first round. All the judges gave it to him. He was, he was able to fight at his distance. He had some power in his punches, and he tagged Nick a couple times. They came out for that second round, and right off the bat, Diaz starts kind of, putting his face into BJ's jab and like headbutting his hands, and then he smacked his arm away. It seemed like right in the beginning of that second round, Diaz kind of woke up and he realized he was in a fight, and he sort of became the Nick Diaz that he's so popular for being, and he got aggressive and he got mean, and I thought he was going to finish him in that second round. I had Diaz by a second round TKO, and it looked like it was going to happen. BJ was able to sort of weather the storm, but the second and third rounds were all Nick Diaz, and the guy, he just keeps coming and coming and coming. And BJ Penn, he wound up gassing, and he took a lot of punishment in that fight. I almost felt bad for him. There was a certain point in the fight where I was starting to feel bad for him because he couldn't do anything. He was just getting hit.
Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. But I mean, like I said, I didn't totally unexpect that. But obviously, once Diaz started putting the hurting on him, we've seen it before, and this is why I really don't want to trash BJ, but we've definitely seen it before in big fights when BJ can't implement his game plan and can't do anything. You almost kind of see it in his body language. He breaks. I mean, in this fight, he broke just because the guy was beating the shit out of him, and like you said, Nick wasn't finding his range in the first round. I think he even said it after the fight, and he was even up to the lead-in to the fight how he really didn't want to take the fight because he considered him, a really close acquaintance. And he said he found it very hard to motivate himself because he felt this guy could have been a friend of his, and he doesn't believe in fighting friends now. He doesn't know what to think about because now they fought. He doesn't even know if he can be friends with him because he's just this weird, he's kind of a crazy dude. And like you said, he might be a headache for Dana, but at the same time, it's going to sell a lot of pay-per-views just because of this guy blowing off off the top of his head, and he says this crazy shit. And obviously him. Yeah. No,
I'm sorry. Just to your point, he definitely will sell because people will either, he's that figure that people either want to see him win or they want to see him get his ass beat. But he's got to learn he cannot trash the UFC as far as payments. He can't do that shit because that's one thing. Like Dana will not put up with that because if he's gonna be walking around saying I can't pay my sparring partners, we should make more money. We should make the money that boxers make. The UFC can't have one of their champions walking around saying that. So I'm sure. They want Nick to be Nick, but I'm sure he got a talking to after that press conference and said, listen, if you want these big fights, if you want to make this money, you cannot say things like that, at least at the press conference after the fight.
No doubt. I agree with you. And you know what? It got a little heated when Cesar Gracie was trying to explain what Nick was talking about. Dana had enough of it, and he kind of went after him, and he brought up the 6 fights that Diaz ditched out on and everything like that. So, no, you're right about that. But, you know, even though it's something that he shouldn't do, he shouldn't be trashing pay scale or anything like that, the lead-in up to the fight with all the interviews, he with all the negative shit that he said, he also had a lot of positive things to say about
Absolutely. And you can
being
tell
back
that
in the UFC.
You can tell that and he's trying. You can tell, especially in the lead-up for the fight, he was trying to be the company man.
Yeah.
And I think even afterwards, the thing that's so interesting about him is that he doesn't know any better. Like, he's just, it's just him. He just was speaking emotionally. He wasn't necessarily trying to trash the UFC or make a point. He was just sort of talking, and he was just talking freely, and you could just tell that that's just the way he is sometimes. Like, other times he won't open his mouth, and sometimes you can't shut him up. And, you know, I'm sure when he starts sort of rambling on about things like that, I'm sure Dana wants him to shut up.
Oh, Dana was pissed. And then when Cesar Gracie jumped in, like I said, he had enough, and he had to put the brakes on it because he had enough hearing about my guy's name paid and that shit. But, you know,
of course,
taking that out of the equation,
he made $250,000, you know, for a couple hours, and it's just. Now, what do you think? Obviously, the guys are both. You know, Diaz came in, before the fight. He said somebody asked him, you know, you're fighting your idol, BJ Penn. He said, you know, first of all, he's not my idol. We used to know each other, and we're friendly, and we're cool, and everything like that. But obviously, afterwards, there was a picture. I don't know if you saw it. I saw it on Twitter. It was the two of them, like in the back, sitting down together with their arms around each other, like kind of hanging out together after the fight. But as soon as the fight was over, it was cool. But as soon as the fight was over, Nick Diaz, he was still obviously pumped up, and he was running around the cage. You know, I won that shit. I won that shit. It looked like he went over to BJ's corner and yelled at all the guys in the corner. Did you see that?
No, I was tapping him on the head. I didn't see that, really. No,
I swear. So right when they announced, or right when the fight was over, before they announced the winner, when it was obvious that Diaz won, he's like, "I won that motherfucker! I won!" He was like, I think he yelled it at GSP. He was yelling at his corner. He walks right over. I think it was to BJ Penn's boxing coach, and he put his finger right in his face, and he yells it in his face.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I do kind of remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? And it was like, I thought these guys were all cool, and then it seemed like afterwards he kind of calmed down, and him and BJ were cool. But I mean, there's just no filter on this guy. He just like, he literally is a guy where he's like, you know, you say that shit to my face. Like if somebody were to say something to his face, like backstage, he would literally fight them on the spot.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know the story when he got into the fight in the hospital. Him and
with Joe Riggs.
With Joe Riggs. Because Joe Riggs was running his mouth, and he fought him in the hospital when they both got sent there. So, you know, the guy definitely, that's just it. He's a real fighter, and love him or hate him, you got to respect the fact that the guy is going to go out there. And, you know, I hate to sound, again, like a fanboy, but I think he is going to beat GSP. I don't care if GSP is pissed that he ran his mouth and thinks that he's going to teach him to be humble and everything like that. The fact of the matter is the guy is a real fighter. He's not intimidated by anybody. And, you know, there's just that certain level of disrespectfulness where he's got to go out there and prove everybody wrong because he thinks everybody hates him, that it just makes him be better when he's in that ring. So, you know, I of course, on paper, everybody says GSP is going to beat him, but I don't know, man. I think he's going to take the belt, and if he doesn't, then that's it. Nobody's going to take that belt from GSP.
Well, I don't know. I think that the odds for this fight will probably be closer than, you know, GSP's last 5 or 6 fights. I've heard some people say that they think that Diaz is the man to beat him. I think that even though GSP asked for the fight, and you know he was visibly pissed off when Diaz, you know, was calling him out, saying, you know, first of all, to say the guy's faking an injury, I don't really like that. I've always been.
I know.
Over the last, you know, couple of years probably, I was a GSP fan, and then lately, you know, with his sort of more boring, safe style, I've been calling, you know, bring Nick Diaz over, let Nick Diaz fight him, and you know, I want Nick Diaz to come over and beat him. This whole, you know, I'm almost sort of starting to root for GSP now, just the way this is all playing out, because GSP's a lot more boring, but, like, you know, he does things the right way, doesn't disrespect anybody, and he's sort of just minding his own business, and now this punk's calling him out, so I almost want GSP to come shut this guy's mouth now. I think the closer we get to the fight, I'll sort of figure out who I'm really rooting for in that fight. But obviously, Diaz doesn't like to get hit. And obviously, when he gets hurt, obviously the Matt Serra fight, and then even in that Jake Shields fight where he could see out of his eye, he almost was looking for a way out of that fight. I think if he's able to, here's what I'll say. If that fight goes 5 rounds, I think that Diaz is going to finish him at some point. I think the longer the fight goes, I think that GSP is going to come out with a style to take him down and not play a jiu-jitsu game with him, but take him down and try to overpower him and try to ground and pound him. I don't think he's going to grapple with him per se. As far as I don't think he's going to get him down and work submissions and work position. I think we're going to see a more aggressive. I think Xavier definitely wants to go to the ground with him. He might, you could see him maybe kickboxing and then setting up a takedown, taking him down, and then being aggressive once he's on the ground. I think he could probably finish him that way if he really goes all out for it, because I think GSP knows if he hangs around and the longer he lets Diaz hang around, Diaz has the best conditioning in the game, and he never stops coming with his boxing. So he's going to wind up hurting him eventually. So I think GSP is going to know he's going to have to finish him early in that fight. Otherwise, Diaz probably finishes him later.
I agree with you. I definitely think if the longer it goes, the more dangerous Diaz becomes. And George definitely hasn't shown any problem with his conditioning, but like you pointed out, is it up to the same level as Diaz? And the way Diaz works the body, you could be the most conditioned guy in the world, and after a while, you're going to be sucking wind when you start getting your body beat up like that. So it's
speaking of speaking of we're on the Diaz boys. Did you read today who his brother Nate's next fights with?
Absolutely, I did. I'm like sort of nervously excited about it because I love both these guys so much. I don't know where I'm going to go with that pick, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to root for one guy over the other. But I'm really excited. I mean, it looks great on paper. Again, 2 guys who love to fight.
Just to give the people, it's Nate Diaz and Donald Cerrone for the people that don't know. Cowboy.
It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. It's going to be a war. That's going to be a great fight, dude. I mean, obviously the Cowboy has great kickboxing, but Diaz, again, he trains with his brother. He trains with the same boxing coach, and he's got the boxing. And on the ground, I think it's a toss-up. Cerrone's a pretty high-level black belt himself, so it's a tough fight to call. How do you see that going?
Yeah, I think obviously both guys are good everywhere. I think Diaz probably has more. Diaz is more of a boxer, whereas Cerrone's more of a Muay Thai or a kickboxer. He mixes his kicks in nice. Cerrone's probably a better wrestler. Diaz is probably a better jiu-jitsu practitioner. Cerrone's probably a little bigger and stronger. That's a really interesting fight. I think if Cerrone comes to fight, I think that Cerrone takes it. I like both those guys. But Nate's sort of hit and miss. We've seen him not look so great in some fights. And, Cerrone's a big lightweight. He's a big, strong guy, and if he wants to play that game where he tries to overpower Nate, I think that he can if he wants to. I think that if he wants to stand and be a tough guy and try to talk shit with Diaz, that's playing himself right into Diaz's hands. I don't think he wants to. I don't think he should do that. And I think, with Greg Jackson training him, I think if Cerrone comes with a good game plan, he should win that fight.
I like I said, I'm going to ride the fence till it's fight time on that one. I can't pick anybody right now. Like I said, I got too much invested as a fan in both those guys, but I really can't wait for it, and I hope, obviously Cerrone's been on a tear. Diaz just returned to the lightweight division, so it's also a fight that kind of is going to show the title picture too, because Cerrone's definitely on the cusp of getting another title shot. So if Diaz beats him, that kind of puts him into the conversation as well. So, it's definitely an interesting fight, and I can't wait for it. But
what about? Let me just real quick before we go on. What about? Obviously, first of all, do you think BJ is going to retire?
I don't think so. I think he should. I've said it before. Again, I really don't want to trash the guy. He has been a great fighter and an ambassador to the game and everything, but you've seen him broken in fights before, and I think that has to go with the fact that he has been losing some passion to fight over the years, but plus I also think he bought into his early hype when he was on such a role that he was basically unbeatable, and then when these guys started stepping up and actually matching him and some guys overmatching him, it was almost like unbelievable to him that he couldn't regroup, because the truly really elite great fighters can change in the moment, whereas I think when BJ's game plan is shot to shit, he kind of gets lost in there, and unless he can figure that part out, I definitely think he should go. I mean, he's not an old guy by any stretch of the imagination. What is he, 33? I mean, he could definitely hang in there for a while.
Yeah, he's 32 or 33. Just a couple quick things about BJ. So if you look at the second Matt Hughes fight where, Hughes wound up beating him when Hughes was supposed to fight GSP and then BJ took the fight. That fight, if you look at the first GSP fight, if you look at the John Fitch fight, if you look at the Nick Diaz fight, BJ lost all those fights, but he won the first round in all of those fights. So
right, yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a physical thing, if it's his body, if it's his training. And I've always heard people say over the years that BJ Penn is the best pure mixed martial artist in the world. He's got more skill than anybody. I never understood it because he's at this point he's 16-8. But
right.
As far as just pure skill, before in other words, he gassed in all those fights. And before he gassed in all those fights, he was beating all those guys. So I'm not sure if he's ever going to have. It's because either he just physically isn't as capable as these guys, or he doesn't train hard enough. I don't know. I'm not there, but he's obviously very skilled. I don't think we see him for a while. I think maybe in 2 years, 3 years, when he's still only 34, 35. I could see them bringing him back. For a big fight, for a marquee fight. Let's say on the tail end. If I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but if there's a bigger name, kind of an older fighter that, could draw some money, I could see BJ coming back and fighting. But I do think that we're not going to see him for a while, if ever again. You think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame?
For what he did, I think, wasn't he the first guy to win a title in 2 weight classes? I believe
he was the
right?
first, and then Couture did it after him, but he was the first to do it.
Right. So, I mean, Couture's got a fairly unimpressive record, and he's there because of the things that he done early on in the game. And when BJ first came along, he was an animal. He did look and seem to be unbeatable. He moved up in weight, dominated Matt Hughes in that first fight to take the welterweight title, and basically walked away. And then he went over to Japan and fought over in Japan. And he had some mixed success over there. And then he came back, and we've seen this portion of his career. So, on that fact alone, that he won two titles in 2 different weight classes, and obviously being a natural lightweight, I think he's got to be in the conversation. I think Dana will do it just because of how much of a fan favorite he is, and because there is that history of success behind him. So it's not like anybody will go, "Oh, that's bullshit," if he gets put in there. So I think it's a good thing. It keeps BJ around, and they'll keep him with the company, and he'll keep, showing up at appearances and stuff. And obviously, people who remember BJ in his career will love to see the fact that he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think he'll wind up there too.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to get this commercial out of the way. Hey, just to move it along here. So, you like to write on blogs, right, Franco?
Yeah, I do a little writing now and again.
Every so often I've seen it, and I think you write some really amazing stuff, and I think everybody should go here to check it out. What happened?
A new era has dawned in blogging. Log on to thexlog.com and experience new standards and quality in commentary and analysis. Powered by RotoExperts.com, thexlog.com brings together the top expert bloggers with all the very best the Internet has to offer. You don't have to search for the most compelling and entertaining posts and writers anymore. They will be at your one central hub for high quality. So join us as a new revolution begins in sports and entertainment, only at thexlog.com. That's THEXLOG.com.
thexlog.com. But I guess we'll move on to the co-main event of the night, which I know disappointed me. It pitted Czech Congo versus Matt Mitrione. Matt Mitrione was coming into the fight at 5-0. Showed real good power in his hands, and was obviously improving his game, but he was going up against Czech Congo, who's been around a while, and has only been knocked out once in his career. And I definitely didn't see the fight going this way, but what did you feel about it, Franco?
Yeah, I think we all picked Mitrione, and I still think Mitrione's got a good future in the game, but Congo is the quintessential gatekeeper, and we always sort of throw that term around, but he really is. He's a gatekeeper because he really is that threshold between the bottom to mid-level guys and the champions, because he's never going to be a champion, but you need to beat him to get to that level. You've seen him. He's been in the cage with Frank Mir. Obviously, the fight with Pat Barry, he came last twice. So, I mean, he's an upper echelon heavyweight. So for a guy like Mitrione who's only been doing MMA for a couple of years, it's a tall task, that he had in front of him fighting Cheick Kongo. And I think with a better game plan, he probably has the skills to beat him. And I just think that Kongo, he fought smarter. He wasn't. Mitrione was stalking him the entire time. He was sort of pushing the pace to the fight, but Kongo just fought really smartly, and he kept Mitrione honest with his counter punching. And Mitrione really couldn't come in and commit too strong because Kongo did counter him a few times. And Kongo he was able to sort of to win some close rounds just because he's crafty. He's more of a veteran. Whereas if Mitrione would have fought a little smarter, he might have been able to steal those closer rounds. But I actually saw Mitrione tweeting afterwards saying, he watched the tape, he understands, some of the things that he was doing wrong. He understands, where the boos were coming from. It was a boring fight. But I think, it's a learning experience for Mitrione. It's just sort of, where do both of these guys go next? A guy like, Cheick Kongo, maybe him and Roy Nelson, sort of a battle of the gatekeepers to see, who's going to sort of stay relevant in that position and who's not. And then, Matt Mitrione, maybe you put him up against a guy like Brendan Shaw, who's coming off that loss against Nogueira. And, same sort of a deal. You put Shaw versus Mitrione, and you see, the winner of that sort of stays relevant, and the loser falls down the ladder a little bit. But I think those guys, they both play in the NFL. They both have similar, years in the sport. They have similar styles. I would like to see that fight.
Yeah, I would definitely sign up to see that one. I think that could be a very interesting fight. But, yeah, like you pointed out, I mean, Cheick is definitely your quintessential gatekeeper. But, in the win, I wasn't impressed at all. Obviously, I understand the fact that Kongo didn't want to get caught because he was respecting Mitrione's power. But any time that there were those exchanges, it was obvious that Kongo had the better striking. So he could have tried to open up a little bit better. And, maybe press the action. And then in the third round, obviously, he got the takedown, controlled that, and, beat him up on the ground, but really didn't go for anything too crazy. So, he fought a smart fight. He did what he needed to do, and, of course, he didn't want to go there and lose to a guy who's 5-0 since he has, just over 30 fights. But at the same time, I think if they would have exchanged, unless Mitrione got lucky and clipped him, he was going to win that exchange. It was obvious anytime they really kind of had a chance to throw anything. So, I don't understand why he played it so safe. But, congrats to him. And like you said, let's see him against maybe the Roy Nelson because, Nelson can take a shot and he'll wade in there. And I don't think he's going to be able to take Roy down like he did to Mitrione. And he'll have to stay on his feet. So it would be interesting to see how that one goes. But speaking of the sandwich Roy Nelson, who looked very svelte and sexy on Saturday night, I know I shoved up when...
That's the best nickname ever. Is that what people call him, or is that just your nickname? Is that just your nickname?
No. I wish I could have said I made that up, but he used to go by the sandwich, so I'm trying to bring it back.
That's really good.
But, yeah, I know. So let's keep. Now that he's losing the weight, I probably shouldn't. A little late to start bringing it back, but oh well. But the next fight on the card pitted the legend Mirko Cro Cop versus Roy the Sandwich, a.k.a. Big Country Nelson. And like you pointed out, this is another guy who could be called a gatekeeper as well in the heavyweight division, going up against the legend. Both these guys were coming into the fight on 2 fight losing streaks, and they were both desperate for a win. Now, I didn't hear it before the fight. Cro Cop said leading up to it that this was going to be his farewell fight. Did you hear any of that talk, Franco?
Yeah, I heard even in the pre-fight press conference, he said, it's probably going to be my farewell fight, especially if he said if I lose, it's definitely going to be my farewell fight, and if I win, it still might be my farewell fight. He was saying, he wanted to show the old Mirko Cro Cop. He really was very apologetic to the people. He said Dana White, Lorenzo, these guys have treated me like kings. I haven't performed here. I haven't performed for the fans in America. They give me a lot of money. They've treated me really well, and I don't feel like I've ever lived up to my contract. I want to make sure in this fight that I come out and I live up to all the things that these guys have done for me. And, I don't think Cro Cop looked bad. It's just, he's 37 years old, He was hurting Roy Nelson in that second round when he backed him up against the cage. Nelson landed a big overhand right. It sort of woke Krokop up. Krokop hit the straight left, backed him up against the cage, and he started working his body. And I saw an interview for Ariel Helwani interviewing Roy Nelson afterwards, and Nelson said, he was hitting me hard. He said he really hurt me, with those body shots. And Krokop came out and said, I can't believe that he didn't just crumble with those body shots. I put everything I had into it, and I thought I was going to finish him. But I think after that, and also when the second round, Nelson, he got him in the crucifix position that he finished Kimbo's fights in. And Krokop said he wasted so much energy trying to get out of that position for the last minute of that round, just using his entire his upper body. And he said by the time the third round came, he was so tired that, he knew that he was done because he wasted all the energy trying to get out of that position, that's the effectiveness of Roy Nelson. He makes you do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even when he was taking his ass beatings from Mir and Dos Santos, Dos Santos looked like he was starting to tire in that fight, and Mir also. So he's definitely going to make you work for it if you can beat him. But Mirko was a legend, but he was man enough to admit he really hadn't lived up to expectations over here. And of course, joking around, I've been saying about him he should retire as well. But it's unfortunate that people didn't get to see what he did in Pride because he was really a tremendous heavyweight fighter and really went on a tear over there and was one of the most feared guys to fight. So
that sort of parlays into my next point. I was going to ask you: Do you think that Krokop is the same fighter? Do you think that the sport just caught up to him? Do you think that his skills have diminished? Do you think it's injuries or I personally, I think he was a great fighter, in the mid-2000s, 2004 to, maybe 06, but fairly one-dimensional, really good kickboxer with a great sprawl. But, the way that this sport has evolved over the last, 3 to 5 years, I don't think he did anything different, which I just think the sport caught up with him. I think the athletes got better, and, the fighters just became better, and slowly but surely everybody caught up to him. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he diminished or the sport caught up to him?
I think it's a little bit of both. Probably more the fact that people caught up to him, but obviously, he has aged, and, like I said, the tear that he went on in Pride, as impressive as it was, the one problem with Pride, as many great fighters as they had, they also had a lot of not-so-great fighters over there. So, unfortunately, it's tough to gauge how great of a fighter was coming from over there sometimes. Obviously, Krokop was fighting the best. He was fighting Nogueira. He was fighting Fedor. He was fighting Barnett. So you couldn't really, you can't say that he wasn't fighting top-level competition, but I do think it's a little bit from column A and column B. He's definitely diminished, and guys have gotten better who can do the same things that he does and do them better. And then, of course, when you add the guys who are dominant with the groundwork into it, even though they claim Krokop's been training jiu-jitsu for 10 years, I don't believe it. He maybe some jiu-jitsu. Obviously, he was a cop. That's why his nickname's Krokop, so I'm sure he has some sort of grappling skill, but nothing to the level of, like a Frank Mir or a Roy Nelson or something like that. So when it hits the ground, he's lost. Especially against guys of this caliber in the UFC. So, it is a shame. And, obviously Roy Nelson, even though I like him and he's a fun personality, I'm going to steal Dolo's line and say I can't ever see him being a champion in the UFC. He definitely
calling him out on that in the chat room.
I know, I saw it. I had to feed the beast and give him a laugh, So
feed the chat room. Keep him coming back. Good thinking.
Exactly. We need all we can get, Franco. We can't lose anybody. You got to throw a bone every once in a while.
It's true.
Basically, to sum it up, and I guess we'll move on, is Krokop isn't going to get any better. Neither is Roy Nelson, but Roy Nelson is better than Krokop. So, if somebody's going to be sitting there guarding the gate, it's got to be somebody who still can be competitive, as opposed to a guy who's going to keep declining each fight out as we watch him. Because same thing like you pointed out in the fight in with BJ Penn. Yeah, he comes out in the first round, he looks good, but then he starts to break down as the fight goes on. So, it's been a great career, and obviously we've all enjoyed Krokop, but it's time to move on, and it's probably a good thing he's retiring while he's still got his wits about him.
Yeah, totally. I think it's time for him to go.
Yeah. So moving on, we'll move on to the next fight on the card. Had Scott the Spot Jorgensen versus Jeff Big Frog Coran. This was a pretty close fight. How'd you see it, Franco?
Spotty performance at best by Scott Jorgensen. Obviously. That's all. Everybody on Twitter, everybody had the same joke over and over about spotty performance.
Oh.
And it was nonstop. But anyway, I thought it was a solid fight. Obviously, you see that Kerm was a veteran, and Jorgensen just had a little too much for him. It was nothing special. Jorgensen, pretty clear-cut decision. Every round was pretty close. I honestly think, the main card up until the Diaz BJ Penn fight wasn't really all that great. That fight sort of saved the card.
I agree.
This fight for me, I was watching it, but I wasn't that excited to see it. I really didn't care that much which guy won. It was technical. Jorgensen did what he was supposed to do. I think most people had him. I think he was a 3-1 favorite, and he won the decision and took care of business.
Yeah, because, again, since I was trying to catch you and I know I needed to do some things differently, originally I was going to do the same thing you and Dalla did and pick Jorgensen by unanimous decision, but I figured, what the hell, the veteran might have a chance. But, obviously Jorgensen's a better fighter. Karan's a veteran. When they were on the ground, you saw some great groundwork. Karan was transitioning into, a few different things, arm bars and triangles and whatnot. But, even though he's had more fights, it's obvious Jorgensen's at the same level as him, so obviously whose ceiling's higher? Jorgensen's is. Karan's been around a long time now and hasn't gotten any better than he is, so, the right guy won, but, I wasn't all that impressed with it either, and I do have to agree with you. I was just biding my time till the Nick Diaz BJ Penn fight came on, even though I like Mitrione and Nelson. Both those fights really weren't, I didn't think were that great, and, the Roy Nelson one went my way, so I really couldn't really get geared up for them, but ending the night was, a fighter I picked to win, Hatsu Hioki versus George Hrup. And I totally think Hatsu deserved that decision. What about you, my friend?
Yeah, I think that was another close one. Similar to the second fight of the night, it was, not the most fan-friendly fight. People know George Hrup because he's had some big fights, in the WC and the UFC, but Hioki, most of his fights were over in Japan. So a lot of people didn't really know who he was, but he did come up with a split decision. I scored the fight for him as well, 29-28, even though I picked Hrup. And it wasn't really a crowd pleaser. Hioki even said afterwards that he wished he could have had a better performance. But I think, honestly, first fight in the UFC from Japan against a tough guy like George Hrup, I think he, deep down, is probably happy to just get out of there with a win. And hopefully next time out he can put on a little bit of a better performance. But to get that win under his belt against a solid guy in the division, I think he did exactly, what he had hoped to do. And, I want to see him fight again before I sort of pass any judgment on him. But, solid win for Hioki.
Same here. We got to see what he does next time out because obviously he's highly touted. They're thin in the featherweight division, so really they went after him and signed him because he's not a name here, but a name around the world as being one of the best featherweights out there, and they definitely need somebody who could step up and challenge Aldo for that belt. I don't really see anybody taking it, and if we're going to base it off that fight, obviously I can't see Hioki, but like you said, first fight in, he's in a cage. Everybody who seems to come over from Japan has a tough time out or doesn't live up to potential. So we got to see who they put him up against next, and if he can actually deliver on what his accolades are. Obviously, he's a great ground technician, and that's what he was touted coming in. The only thing is he couldn't finish it. But Hrup is a pretty large and skinny featherweight, so he's probably really wiry and wily. It's tough to try to get on, slap some of those moves on with him. But hopefully Hioki comes out next time and really kind of, puts on a show. So now we can start getting some fuel to see him possibly fight for the featherweight title. Now, this Saturday, there's two events happening. I don't know if you knew this, Franco.
What's the other? What Shark Fights or Titan Fighting Championships?
No. I'm going to blow your mind here. Obviously, we got UFC 138, which, we're probably just going to glaze over because Dolo's not here to make his picks, and we're going to wait till the next card. Plus, it's not really that great
of a shitty card. Let's be honest. It's a shit card.
It's a bunch of English fighters that none of us give a shit about, and the main event is good. I'm a big Chris Lieben fan. I really don't like Mark Munoz. I've never heard anybody say I'm a giant Mark Munoz fan. So really, it's not that interesting. It's really not interesting.
He doesn't bring the fanfare.
I've heard people. Yeah, there's no fanfare. I've heard people say, "Oh, I love training with Mark Munoz. He's great in the gym, because he helps other guys become great
He's very
fighters."
helpful.
Right, he's a very helpful guy. Like I know Mayhem Miller trains with him, and Mayhem Miller's a pretty good fighter and stuff. But as for people really going, I can't wait to see Munoz fight again, it doesn't happen. So we could either talk about that card or pieces of it, or I don't know if you know this, but Pro Elite 2 is going to be happening.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I did know that.
Saturday.
Tim Sylvia's had like 7 different opponents since they announced that card.
Yeah.
People keep pulling out.
How much does he weigh right now? 350?
I think he's at 3 and a clip, 3/4. 325, I think, yes.
Well, he's not the only big name on that card, Andrei Arlovsky is making his return, too.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. It's enough is enough with those two guys. Seriously.
All right, then. Looks like we'll touch on the UFC 138 card for a little bit. I guess I didn't sell the Pro Elite thing that much, huh?
No. I didn't. I actually knew that was going down, but I wasn't really too excited about it. Well, I did want to mention also, did you read, I've been reading Tank Abbott fought this past weekend. Did you read
Let me have a laugh first. Because, no, I didn't read this, but hearing Tank Abbott fought, it's hysterical.
Dude, remember in the early days of the UFC, there was that really fat guy who, him and Tank fought, and then Vitor Belfort beat the shit out of this guy, like, for UFC 11 or something. Scott Ferrota or something?
Something like that. Yeah, I remember who you're talking about.
So there's a guy who he looked like Tank Abbott, but like honestly like 80 pounds heavier. Scott Ferrota.
Holy shit!
So these two fought at it was a strip club that they made a stage out of, and it was like 15 minutes, no holds barred, no gloves. It was like a legitimate like underground fight that they streamed on the internet, and they fought to a draw in a fucking converted strip club.
No.
That the athletic commission wouldn't sanction it or anything. Like it was literally like an illegal fight.
So then how do you get to a draw? You can actually literally stomp somebody's face in or hit him with a beer bottle.
I read that they were going to be doing it, and I was like, this is like a promotional stunt. It's not going to happen. Then I was on there today, and it said that it happened, and they fought to a draw.
Is there video up, dude? Because I got to fucking watch this.
I don't know. I was at work.
Now.
I was at work earning my hard-earned salary, and I was already at my quota for the month. So I was jerking around on MMA sites all day today. I was sandbagging on my sales till tomorrow, and
that's
so I was reading,
wonderful.
So I was reading about this shit. But as far as the UFC 138 goes, like I said, we're not really going to go fight by fight. But as far as the main event, I think I don't know, man. It's sort of a tough fight to call for me. I like Chris Lieben, but
absolutely.
I don't know. I'm going to be rooting for Chris Lieben, but Mark Munoz, his last 3 fights, he beat Aaron Simpson. He took CB Dalloway out in the first round.
Ran him out.
He took him down. He panted him out. He's won 6 or 7 fights. He's solid. I don't ever really know what to make about Lieben. I think Munoz is probably going to try to wrestle him and take top control. Lieben's got an underrated jiu-jitsu game, but Munoz was able to stay away from the submissions of Damian Maia. So I'm going to go ahead and take Mark Munoz by decision. That's what I think it's going to go. But I'm going to be rooting. No, it doesn't matter. We're not counting these or anything. I'm going to probably be rooting for Chris Lieben, but I kind of like Mark Munoz. He's a great guy. He's very
Let me write that down. Hold on one second. I've never heard that before.
See, I was sort of lukewarm about it. Like, I kind of like Mark Munoz. It's not like like he could break his neck in a fight on Saturday, and I would just change the channel and watch Saturday Night Live. So I wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
No, I hear you. Like, as long as he's like the 3rd fight in on a card, I'm cool with it. But main event, don't really give a shit.
Yeah, he's more of a Spike TV sort of a guy. Let's warm the crowd up. That sort of a...
Absolutely. And even though it pains my heart to say it, I think Chris Lieben is more of a co-headliner and Spike TV guy because, unfortunately, we've seen how Anderson Silva took him apart. He's not going to challenge for that title. Now, if I was going to talk about coaches, I'm going to give Mark Munoz the nod for being a better coach, even though Chris Lieben does have his own school in Oahu, Hawaii. But overall, like you said, Chris Lieben's jiu-jitsu game is underrated. He's a black belt. He's pretty high level. You know, guys in the game actually talk about and respect Chris Lieben's jiu-jitsu game.
Are you saying that he's a pretty big deal?
I'm saying he's a pretty big deal.
Is that what you're referring?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, right. But obviously we know Lieben wants to stand and bang. Munoz likes to stand and bang. If he's smart, he's going to try to take it down, but I think Lieben will be able to work off his back. It'll be tough to reverse Mark Munoz, but maybe he can work his guard, possibly get him in a triangle if that happens. But if it stays on the feet, hands down, I think Chris Lieben wins this fight. I think he outclasses him on the feet. I see Mark Munoz going to sleep in the second round. I was going to say the first, but I figured that was a little too ambitious because I think Munoz will be locking up and hugging up on him because he is going to respect the power in Lieben's hands. And, overall, I'm not terribly excited about the fight, but of course, any Saturday that there's fights on, I'm happy about. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I'm with you. And a lot of times they give us, it seems to be you won't have some for a couple of weeks, and then you wind up getting a bunch in a row. What the fuck is up with Jackie Battle? I pick up Jackie Battle in my other league, and I'm like, this kid shows some potential. He sort of took the job, and now it's a three-headed monster in Casey. Give me a break. This guy looks like shit. He can't break it.
Yeah,
he's like Larry Johnson, except he sucks.
Right. Well, he can't break a tackle. I got a better way to explain it.
He's 250 pounds. Break a tackle.
Right. He's like Larry Johnson running in quicksand. So that's what the main problem is.
He's like Larry Johnson minus the rapes. Larry Johnson minus the sexual appetite. It's no fun.
Was she
no
snoring?
Fun for anyone.
Was she snoring? If she's snoring, it isn't rape. Okay. That's all I know.
He thought she was moaning. I got Jackie Battle and Dwayne Bowe in my other league. I'm down 40 points. And every time Jackie Battle touches the ball, somebody puts a finger on him and he fucking collapses.
Well, let me ask you this, since I'm not watching the game. Has Vincent Jackson and or Ryan Matthews done anything tonight?
Hold on. I don't think, well, the Chargers only have 3 points, so they have, Ryan Matthews got 32 points, 32 yards and a fumble. And, Vincent Jackson's got 12 yards.
Phew. Wow, that might screw me in my other league. Obviously, in our league, I put the boots to Big Doll. Hey, Big Doll, I see you in the chat room. Way to fucking really show up this Sunday, okay? What, I beat you by 60? Your season's over.
Oh, my God, what a joke. I hate that guy, too. He's so annoying.
I agree. Fuck him.
Hilarious. How about Scott from Modesto's in the room back to his normal spot in the basement of the league? He did make it to the championship game. He did make it to the championship game last year, though. He did show some sack last year, though. I will give him that much, but I don't know. I think he's 1-6 right now or something.
Oh, it's pathetic. It's fucking horrible. Yeah, I'm very happy. You know, I mentioned it. I haven't really been bothering him about it too much, but now that he's 1-6, I have to mercilessly bring it up every day now. It's just so great seeing other people fail.
He's going to shoot for a double leg on you if you bring it up. He was pretty touchy at the draft.
You know, Floyd Mayweather can't defend the double leg.
Yeah, I had to go to school for that shit.
You know what else I wanted to bring up, Frank? I know we're going into this football, ripping on these also-rans in our football league. They might as well just pack it in.
Listen, my team sucks too. I'm just talking shit. Drew Brees, yeah.
What are you talking about? I traded you Brees.
Yeah, I know. And fucking Bolden at 150 yards this week?
He's amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is a good trade.
Well, it's all right, because Brees gave me a good week last week, but he sucked this week, man. I had my running backs. On my team, I have Darren McFadden, I have Peyton Hillis, I have Mike Tolbert. My two starting running backs this week were Kendall Hunter and fucking Brandon Jacobs. Fucking Delicious is going to pass me tonight here because Hillis didn't play, Tolbert didn't play, McFadden's on a bye. You know, it's so annoying. I'm going to lose by like a point or two. I know it.
Well, you know, usually I'd be rooting against you, but since Dolo dipped out on us, I'm hoping he loses by like 1 point, and it's up his ass. Because
it's funny because he's got the worst team in the league, yet he's 4-3. He puts up 95 points and wins every week. It's so frustrating. I put up 140 and lose.
Scott from Modesto just wrote, "You're going to lose one of your 3 fans, sir."
Oh, Steve, you know I love you. My team sucks too. I came into the league in 2006. I won it the first year, and I haven't fucking made the playoffs since.
No, wait,
one time
you won the second year. You won the second year because I won the first year, and you beat me by 1 point the second year. You didn't win the first year.
But I don't think I was in the league the first year though.
Yes, you were.
Was I?
Yeah. You've been in the league since the beginning. Yeah, man. We've been there forever. We're OGs, man. We OGs.
That's true. We're the OGs. But so when did we start the league? 05?
I want to say 05. Why don't we ask the commish? She's in the chat room. Hey, commish, when did we start the league? Type that in quick. We don't want to make everybody wait for this big answer. I'm going to say 2005.
Well, everybody that's listening is in our football league anyway, so it's no big deal.
Tom just wrote instead of answering my question. Yeah, you were, Nick. All right, well, thanks.
Oh,
05, yeah, okay, there it is.
05. So this
we
is
lost Big Goal?
Big Goal left, and Scott from Modesto is pissed at me.
Oh, well, what can you do, you know? You can't please everybody.
One thing, I'm
going
to swing it back to the MMA shit. You see Frank Mir talking about Nogueira. You know, he was talking a little shit, saying it's time for him to put up or shut up. If he was, if he was really injured for our last fight, he shouldn't have shown up and fought because
I agree.
I went out there and I competed and I beat him, and now everybody always tells me, well, he had staph, he had this, he had that, and Nogueira always plays up those injuries. And he said, if you weren't healthy enough to fight, you shouldn't have fought. I would have rather fought somebody that was healthy. Because then, once I beat you, you have all these excuses. So that's sort of, when are they fighting? Do you know what event or when they're fighting, Mir and Nogueira?
I really don't. I'm going to assume that it's probably maybe at the end of the year, 141, the same card that they put Cerrone on with Nate Diaz, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
That's the one in December. That's Brock Lesnar and Overeem is the main event, and Cerrone and Nate Diaz is actually going to be the co-main event there.
Oh, really?
Mir and Nogueira might be in November. They have November 12th is UFC on Fox, and then there's one more card in November, national pay-per-view. I think Mir and Nogueira are on that card. Yeah, they're on the card with Shogun and Henderson and Vanderlei Silva and Kung Lee and Mir and Nogueira. All three of those fights are on that November card.
Kung Lee's on that card? I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah, Kung Lee and Vanderlei, Henderson and Shogun, and then the Mir and Nogueira fight. That's actually a pretty diesel card.
I'm pulling for Silva in that fight, but I'm afraid Kung Lee's going to kick his face right off and finish it.
Oh, no,
good.
I don't know, man. That's, I don't know. If Silva loses that fight, then, enough's enough, buddy,
Absolutely. Well, to touch back on the MMA news, did you see this? Damian Maia's calling out my boy Jake Shields.
I did see that, and I think that would be a good fight, and I think that Damian Maia would strike with him and would knock his fucking block off.
That's hurtful. How did I know you were going to say that? That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Maia's striking. He's been looking better and better on his feet, and Jake Shields held his own in that GSP fight on their feet, but GSP was right there for the taking, and I mean Jake Shields really pissed me off in that fight.
I totally agree.
He looked like shit, and then the Ellenberger fight, you can't fault him. He got caught. You don't know how that fight would have played out, but
I still think that was ended early, and Nick Diaz agrees with me. So since Nick Diaz has got my back, I'm going to stay by my word now and say that fight was stopped early.
Yeah, I mean that's I think it was too. But not to say that it wouldn't have just hit him a couple more times, but.
Well, according to Nick Diaz, they were just pity-pat shots, and they weren't doing any damage because the kid ain't got no power, and it got stopped. So,
I stand corrected then. Obviously, a word came out of Brock Lesnar's camp. There was he signed up for that WWE video game, and there was he was doing a promo for it, and everybody said how skinny he looked. I guess it was right before he got sick or right after he got sick the second time, but the word just came out of his camp that he's training now, and he's depending on what time of the day it is and what he's eating and what he's trained and everything, he's up between 279 and 285 pounds. So he's back full force. He's big and strong as ever, and he's gonna have to cut 15 pounds to get to the limit. So people were kind of saying he was going to come into that fight a little bit smaller than normal, and Overeem would have the strength advantage. But they say that Brock's up in the 280s right now.
Well, that's great because obviously we know Overeem has a striking advantage, but as long as that giant Brock Lesnar can grab him and rip him down, it's over. He'll take him down and pound him out.
Yeah, he's going to take him down, pound him out. I agree.
But before I end the show, I'm just going to say, since you didn't let me say my feelings on the Jake Shields being called out by Damian Maia, I'm going to say Shields he just wrecks him. Takes him down, rips his arm off, shows that his American Jiu-Jitsu is way better than any of that Brazilian shit. And, you know, he's going to get back on track and maybe just dominate the 185-pound division. But we got 30 seconds left. So, everybody, remember to check out Roto Experts. Check out the xlog.com. Check out Nick Frank at nfrankrotox at Twitter. Check me out at Cauliflower, the number 4, ear at Twitter. And Dolo's got a Facebook. Look him up, send some sexually explicit messages. And we're Cauliflower for the year, and we're tapping out.
Thanks for listening. Sorry, Steve.
I'm not sorry, Steve. All right, man.